Hey, Roy.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm super curious about how you guys deal with bad clients.
I think, like we said on the slide, referrals is the best thing.
Refer them to someone else,
Yeah.
not to us.
I've got Tim as well. Hi, Tim.
Oh, excellent.
Hello, Sir Paul. Hello, Wendy.
Hiya.
Smitten again. Another great one in the field to meet today.
We're feeling blessed. I say we because Tim and I know each other. We spoke about that. So it's not the plural self. Really, thank you for all the knowledge that we have learned from you. So, thank you.
Yeah, most definitely. Here are two reasons why we're here.
Oh, wow.
Right.
That's a substantial compliment.
Oh, goodness me. Just setting the bar high.
Yeah. I look forward to when I say that I started Clean Language in 2024. It's like so long ago.
Yeah.
Hey, Melanie.
Hey,
Hiya.
hi everyone.
Oh, Paul, I'm having problems. Shall I try completely leaving and coming back again?
We'll wait for you.
It's up to you. Yeah, we'll have a few minutes because not everyone would have made it in yet.
Okay. I'll see if that works. Thank you.
All right, let's prank her and all go out.
That would be a relief. To be honest, I was yesterday. My main thing was, could we change the session into modeling having a nap, where basically we just come on and say, it's very important. I talk about yoga nidra or something that made it sound very worthy and important, that sleeping was very good for you. We'd get a few things off the web, and then we'd all basically sleep for the next hour.
Well, we can put you all in a
and then come
prank.
back. Yeah. Well, yeah, you're the perfect person to come and do this. It should be brilliant. I mean, admittedly, there's other good sessions going on, but to be honest, I could do a bit of a nap. It's been quite the week getting ready for all this.
And you could just have a few 5 minutes at the end doing some clean questions about how was that for you?
Exactly.
So how was
That's
that nap? Yes, about that nap.
Yeah. Do some embodied clean on it as well. Yeah, what's happening in your body, and all very worthy it would look.
Now that you nap, what's next?
Yeah. That's good. Right. It might be that I'm running the session all on my own. That's entirely possible. Because
I think you secretly sent Wendy for a nap.
yeah, I think that was Wendy's. Oh, there's a technical problem. Oh, how unfortunate. I'll be back, honest. Yeah, that's why she's the more experienced trainer. She knows these things, and
It's like in the movie. What I can't. It's like
yeah. All right, actually, I better keep my eye on my WhatsApp in case Wendy says anything. Good.
So, Anita, where are you in the world? Just curious, because
yeah, that's a good question.
Did you ask me? What?
I ask you, where are you in the world?
I'm close to Munich, outskirts of Munich.
Hey, hello.
And you, whereabouts are you? Like, okay, I see London. I know London, like UK, and
I'm in Thailand.
Ah, yeah.
Very nice.
Yes. Tim is in Canada because he didn't say. Oh, he just did. Ooh.
Nova Scotia.
Nice.
Is it like New Scotland? But what language is then Nova Scotia?
Oh, it's English. It's part of Canada. But that does mean New Scotland, 100%.
But it's weird translated then, no? No? Yeah.
I don't know. I was born here, so it's not too weird.
Okay.
What kind of weird is that weird, I wonder?
Uh,
Where do you feel that weird?
this is good. I'm a quarter Canadian, so
Yeah. Oh, there you go.
I've got some. Not all.
Look who's
Not all
here.
London here. Yay!
Made it back.
Maybe it's an imposter.
Yeah, what we missed in today's session, because we were going to do some facilitator patterns and client patterns, is if you presenter or trainer patterns. We've got a few of them, but we don't
Oh.
like to admit them. Hi, Wendy, are you alive? We don't have video or audio.
You just have you given me permission to?
Yes, and I've made you a co-host.
Right, now let me see if I can get to be visible.
Oh yeah, you're visible now.
Oh, am I? Good.
Yeah. Sorry, I thought you'd done whatever was needed. Good. Hurrah, we can start. This be nice. This is a nice informal. Oh, new person, Jane, just in time. Hi, Jane.
Hi.
Ah, that's Aunt Jane.
Yeah, a
Excellent.
bit weary. I'm just listening in.
Okay.
Okay, that's all fine. Good. Well, this is the kind of topic you can go quite deep in, have lots of conversations on. So it's quite nice to have this sort of size group with it. So that's good. I think. Well, we've all said hello. It's good. We've overcome technical problems already. That's good. Let's hope there's no more. And yes, how do we do all intros? Say who you are, Wendy.
Yeah. So along with Paul, I run Clean Change Company. I've been training people to use clean language since on a regular basis since 2002. And I also use Clean as a coach and as a psychotherapist. And effectively, everything that I do has some clean somewhere in it, even if it's not clean wall to wall. A long time ago now, Judy Rees and I wrote the book Clean Language, Revealing Metaphors and Opening Minds. And it's still doing well. And if there's a language that doesn't have the same alphabet as English, the chances are the book's been translated into it. A slight exaggeration, but it is the weirdest thing to hold a book where you can't even do that bit of text there is my name, because you can't even read the letters that the language is written in. But it continues to sell, and I think that's probably enough about me. Who are you, Paul?
Oh, that's a deep question, isn't it? For the afternoon, I needed a stronger coffee for that one. So I'm Paul. I now co-train with Wendy. We run. I mean, when I say co-train, most of what we do is we've organised everything as a community of people interested in clean and kind of deliver our training as an ongoing thing in that. So I do that with Wendy and all the things that are around kind of supporting a community, like helping them run sessions like we did this morning. I learned clean about 11 years ago now, I think, with Wendy. So I'm almost half as experienced as her now. So that we're working on it. So I've used clean in various ways along the way. It used to be in a lot in business. I used to run teams and then do a lot of kind of agile coaching. But over the last 5 years, I've moved into more one-to-one work, and I do a lot of somatic work, particularly around sexual trauma. So all very different, and yes, clean, very, very, very useful there, to say the least. Yeah, I think that's probably the main things to say.
You know, maybe you're half as experienced as me, but you've got something that I haven't got, and that's that you are the official person for looking after the guidance related to the certification criteria in clean language.
This is it. This is what I put on my business card.
Massive technical support.
Yeah. No, we'll possibly I just put some context in. I don't know that everyone knows, there's an official way of being certified as a clean facilitator that's kind of generally agreed. A group of people, I think Wendy might have been involved, and Penny and James, and probably Marion, maybe Gina, maybe. Yeah, anyway, it's generally agreed there's a set of criteria for being certified as a clean facilitator. Various of us will run certifications every so often. There's some guidance that goes with the criteria, and for some reason or other, mainly because I've volunteered, I'm one of the assessors who owns the guidance. So there you go, that's my claim to fame. This is so unimportant. Let's do some what we're going to do today.
Okay, so we're going to have an interactive session, and it's going to focus on patterns in a few different ways. So we'll do an introductory warm-up activity that has one way of looking at patterns, and then we'll move on to our main activity, which is where the name of the session comes from. So the name of the session is Bad Client. And so in the main activity, we're going to focus on clients being bad. And some of you will have a chance to be a bad client, and all of you will have a chance to be a facilitator trying to deal with a bad client. And kind of working out what is your bad client's bad behavior, bad pattern, and how do you know whether that pattern is running or not? What's the criteria that you set up, and what you're going to do about it? So that's going to be our main activity, and we'll do it so that there are two facilitators who operate together to deal with their troublesome client. So you'll have some support with that. And then we'll have quite a long debrief so that we can kind of find out what have you learned, and across those different dimensions. So in terms of criteria, in terms of strategies for dealing with your bad client, and chances are there'll be some other not so expected realizations in that debrief. So it's going to be good, and what we are expecting we'll get from it is improved pattern spotting skills, getting clearer about how you know whether a pattern is playing, an improved ability to facilitate even in the face of a bad client doing their worst. And all of that adds up to being a more effective facilitator and a better modeler, both things that are highly prized in clean circles. So that's what we're going to be doing. So,
Okay.
Question: why patterns? Answer to that, Paul?
What? Because they're good. They take your facilitation to another level. But the reason we're particularly interested, as I mentioned, we're about to start running certification for the people who are interested, and so our community has been quite focused on doing practice sessions and looking at clean criteria and things like that. And so that involves looking at patterns. Obviously, there's facilitator patterns. So the criteria we use for certification are effectively about patterns. So for example, working with metaphor. But what we realized is it's also some clients will make the facilitator's job very easy, like too easy. And then you go, have they really got that skill, or was the client doing all the work there? And at the other end of the spectrum, you've got clients that make the facilitator's job very hard. And then certainly as assessors, we've kind of got to factor that in and possibly give people a bit of a chance by who they work with being certified as well. We're very interested in the client patterns, and we've been taking some of those back to practice. So we've had people doing some practices, but then looking back through transcripts to kind of go, okay, great, that's what happens. So what would we do with these kind of situations? That's part of where this is coming from. We've also been looking, as we do practice sessions and give feedback, we've taken all the feedback we've given and looked at the patterns of feedback we're giving across multiple sessions to go, okay, what's happening in our community of people who are practicing that means that's the thing we should go and focus on some training, you know, do some particular sessions on these kind of topics, because that's what's been coming up in the feedback. We're doing a lot of and this isn't just certification, it's just certification is giving us a really good excuse to have quite a few sessions and be very, very focused on these kind of issues. But in a sense, today, we're kind of taking some of the things we've learnt out of that, because it's actually just about clean facilitators getting more effective. Doesn't matter whether you go for certification or not. It's can you know, do you recognize these patterns? Do you know what to do with them? We'll show you a bit more. Also, the reason we can do this is we've been doing a lot with AI around our analysing sessions. So we can kind of take large numbers of sessions and get transcripts of them and analysis of them and run pattern matching things across them. So we've been building an in-house suite of tools that do AI-based analysis on this kind of thing. And it's one of the reasons also we can get a lot more geeky about it than we used to. So that's all been fun if you're into that kind of thing. But but for those of you that are not, it's just we've got some cool patterns and we can go and play with them. So
I think there's a little missing piece here, which is Paul saying we have this in-house developed AI suite of tools, and I'm nodding along. But the fact of the matter is, this is entirely down to Paul, which won't surprise any of you very much. This is he is such a valuable person to have around. He has a PhD in AI, and that's not something one commonly finds in a clean language training company. So it is absolutely, it's extraordinary how much more we are able to do because he has those skills and can deploy them at such high speed. And it makes it infinitely more fun. You know, it widens one's horizons amazingly when one can analyze and interrogate data so much more quickly and thoroughly. So it's brilliant. And there'll be ways in which during this session, you know, there's stuff in this session that we only know because of what we've been doing with AI. So that's a sort of background to how the sessions come about. And so it's all about patterns. And we're going to say about 4 sentences about patterns. So one definition of a pattern is it's a recurring arrangement or configuration of relationships between components in a client's experience that reveals something about the organization of their internal system. So I'm sure that's all you need to know about patterns. It makes it all very clear. So we got a couple of examples. If you've got a client who repeatedly looks to their left when answering a question about the past, that's a pattern. Or a client who uses variations of a metaphor of being trapped across multiple contexts. So, boxed in at work, stuck in traffic, caught between a rock and a hard place, walls closing in, pattern. I think it's interesting to notice that if you can predict something is about to happen, and you're right, chances are you have modeled that pattern, possibly unconsciously, but that will be how you come to be able to predict some behavior. There's one other thing that I think is most important to say about patterns, which is you really officially should wait until that same pattern has played at least 3 times before you start thinking that it's a pattern. And even then, you should actually only think that maybe it's a pattern. We had a training once with a lot of assistants, and on the day we were talking about patterns, all the assistants were wearing brown clothes. And you can see how it's tempting to do that. It's pattern here. Assistants wear brown clothes. Actually, it was sheer chance. There was not another day in that entire lengthy training when all the assistants wore brown clothes. That's always worth thinking about that.
I'm just wondering, Wendy, did anyone wear brown clothes ever again? Was there a pattern of not wearing brown clothes after that day?
That would have been a good one to spot. And there's, I suppose, the last point is you always want to think about whether a pattern that you may have absolutely spotted, whether it's relevant to why you and the client are working together. You could have a client who always wears brown clothes, but there's a reasonable chance that that pattern, if it is one, may not have any relevance for the reason that you and they are working together, in which case you don't have any reason to ask them any questions about their brown clothes. Okay, is that enough background about patterns? Excellent.
And just so that we gave a couple of examples there of things that are more like behaviors or like the underlying nature of a metaphor, because what we're going to be doing is today is particular kind of patterns in the responses. So this is not the only type of pattern that we're going to be doing for the rest of the session. Okay, so we're going to start with a little warm up, which is having a look at some facilitator patterns. These are actually going to be good facilitator patterns. Oh, Roy. And you're on. Yeah.
A curious question before you begin. Maybe what kind of bad client is a bad client for the purpose of this conversation?
Yeah, we're doing it tongue in cheek, because as soon as you think there's a bad client, you need to be looking at yourself, because we're meant to be accepting and non-judgmental. We may come back to that a little bit later on. So it's very tongue in cheek. What we mean here is clients that make you work harder as a facilitator. So particularly for our certification, there's actually clients that make things really, really easy. They self-model and they produce a metaphor really easily. And so the facilitator can kind of sit there, and there's all this lovely hearts and unicorns that dance on the hearth, whatever it is. And all the facilitator has to do is go and then the client will generate even more of it. You're going, so they've got some skills in just sitting there and saying and, because that's what the client needs, but it isn't very good at demonstrating or really showing that you actually know how to help a client get to metaphor and hold attention in the metaphor. On the other end of the spectrum, you'll have clients perhaps that do exactly the opposite of that, and so a facilitator has to work very hard. So there's somewhere in the middle that's a kind of usual, and we'd expect as a facilitator to have to show some skills to get there. And there's another end of the spectrum where you're having to work harder. So this is more, you know, you've got to have run into this, thought about the strategies we're thinking about today. So in the end, you want to be a facilitator where there isn't really a bad client, because whatever comes at you, you're going to accept and work with, and you've kind of got the kind of confidence to do that. So in the end, no bad clients, but for the moment, yeah, we can hide behind the fact it's bad facilitator by blaming our clients. So, good question. Do you mean to mention that was tongue in cheek? Because otherwise, being very unclean.
But
Okay.
you can have people who are intending to do the certification, which is coming up soon. If they do a practice session with a client who does not make their life easy, you can see how those facilitators are probably inclined to be thinking, so-and-so is a really bad client. Yeah, so sort of along those lines, but definitely tongue-in-cheek.
Well, and the other side, of course, is, oh my God, I'm not a very good facilitator, and I'm not going to be able to do certification and all that. When you want to say, no, actually, this is a client that has a pattern that's actually quite difficult to work with. So that's great. Let's all talk about that pattern and what we're going to do about it, which is what we've been doing in some of our sessions in the community. Good. Okay, so we'll warm up with some facilitator patterns that are good ones. So what we're going to do is show you a tick sheet, which you may possibly have not come across. We'll show you one and explain it. I'm just going to pop.
Part of clean certification is the tick sheet that we're going to show you.
Yeah. So just because we're going to go and find them, this is our community site. So we're going over to where we've been doing practice runs for certification. We have them all recorded. We're going to have a look at this one. So this is where we've got, there's been a practice session. The AI has generated we've got formatted transcripts, we've got tick sheet. We're going to have a look at the moment, just in case you're interested what we've been up to. For people who really like geeky data, so some of our students will love this and some of them will never look at it. We're doing some things like reducing what was your top questions and how many times did you ask them, and like what kind of part syntax did you use, and what specialized questions. So we can kind of just pull out very easily a bunch of interesting stuff to look at, and it's like kind of up to people if they want to use that or not. But yeah, we're not trying to turn this into metrics, but we are trying to help people get interesting data, and then they can decide what they want to do. So that's a bit of an aside. Let me get back. What we're going to look at is the tick sheet. So let's explain what a tick sheet is. So a tick sheet is a way of recording what happens across the session.
In terms of what questions are asked.
Yeah, and it's really weird. I don't seem to be getting the Zoom annotation tools. If I was looking to be able to do my pointer on here, and I can't.
I'm pleased that something odd is happening for you.
Yes.
Okay,
well, anyway.
You're less bad.
Assuming people can see my mouse pointer, I'll try and point. So what we've got is questions down the first column of the left-hand side. So they're common, clean questions, and they're sort of roughly grouped together as well. And if the facilitator asks some other questions, like specialized questions, we'd sort of add them in at the bottom, and you'll see some in there. We've got questions. And then the 1 to 22 across the top, that's number 1 is the first question, and number 2 is the second question, number 3 is the third question. So this is effectively time running left to right. And the little coloured in boxes shows what was asked. So question 1 is actually, that's an entry question for this activity about what's a resourceful state. That's not a standard clean question, that was for our activity. We can see question 2 was a whereabouts is X. Question 3 was a whereabouts is X. Question 4 was a what kind of. 5 and 6 for anything else is. And what this lets us do is see what questions got asked when across the session. If you're interested, the number in there is how many parts syntax were used. But if you don't know what we're talking about, don't worry, you don't need to know that. So
what do you mean by 1, 2, 3? Because the counts go up to 1 parts syntax. So you mean how many parts of syntax are used?
Yes. Yeah. So if you ask,
doesn't the question already give a certain syntax? Like the question is.
So 1 part syntax is whereabouts is that cat? 2 part syntax would be, and when there's that cat, what kind of cat is that cat? So you've used the when, and 3 part is, oh, and a cat in your house, acknowledgement. And when there's a cat in your house, placing it, and that's 3. And you can have 4. If you train with us, we've got 4 part syntax because we modeled some extra bits. So yes, you can also see, because we'll have patterns. One of the facilitator patterns, for example, we noticed was quite a few people were not using when. We had lots of 2-part syntax that were acknowledging the client and asking a question, but not using the when part syntax. So you can't see exactly that here, but you could see there was a lot of 2 and very little 1 and 3 on some of our facilitators. So, and it is, and that might be appropriate, but you can spot, or if they rarely do it, it's probably a skill thing. It's like it's out of balance. So let's have a look. This is, we've left the names on because this is a good pattern. This is Emily doing quite a good job of something. But the question is, if you look at the pattern of questions, across here, what patterns can you spot? I really wish I had my Zoom tools for this. Anyone see a pattern?
Have a look for questions that are asked a number of times in fairly short succession.
Is there anything else about X than multiple?
And for the sequence question, what happens to Y? It's always 2 in sequence, like there's no pause and it happens twice the same way.
So we haven't got 3 examples of that. So we perhaps officially would say it's not yet a pattern, but you kind of notice it when there are 2 instances, because otherwise how are you going to spot it when there's a 3rd one? So that's an interesting thing. But let's first of all just go back to what Melanie was saying about, is there anything else about X? So there are a lot of them, 7, I think. And if you look, there are also not as many, but there are also a fair number of the next question in the list. What kind of X is that X? And there are also then 2 where or whereabouts questions. So we don't know what training anyone has had. Have any of you come across the idea of developing a metaphor? Developing is a thing that one would want to do, which would imply asking a number of questions to help the person get clear about the details of that metaphor, particularly the attributes or characteristics of it and the location. And so you can see those 3 questions, the 3 top questions, the ones at the top of the form. Yeah. Is there anything else about X, and what kind of X is that X, and where is X, or whereabouts is X? Those are the most commonly used questions when you want to develop a symbol. And you can see that Emily had a focus on doing that all the way through this little session. So we would say that it would be a pattern you'd find from someone who is doing a good job of developing a symbol or developing a number of symbols. And then comes the questions that Anita noticed of, and when X, what happens to Y? And those 4 questions happen a bit later in the session. There aren't any right at the beginning, but Emily starts using them more about halfway through the session. And they also count as being developing questions. They kind of help to develop the relationships between symbols. And so once you've kind of explored some symbols in the metaphor landscape, you need to find out about the relationships between them. Otherwise, you've just got an old heap of symbols, and that's no use to anyone. They need to be related to each other and working as a unit, as outcome metaphor landscape, most typically. And so finding out about the relationships between those questions is important, and we can see that Emily is doing that as well. And then she's just got a couple of other odd questions, which is fine, but the bulk of them fit into a clear pattern of developing a metaphor landscape. So good on Emily. If we were to give her one piece of feedback, it would be about that where and whereabouts, because there are only 2 little location questions, and they are astonishingly important questions to ask. It seems weird, but location, space, is really important to people. And so establishing the location of symbols is incredibly valuable for helping a metaphor landscape come alive. So we would probably say to Emily, this good piece of work, and it would be worth making sure that you ask as many where or whereabouts questions as are needed, as there's a chance that she missed out on some here.
And to be honest, that is one of our most popular bits of feedback to anyone who's learning clean, is more where questions. So what you're also noticing, there's sometimes a pattern. There's a pattern by something being absent. They're really hard to spot unless you do something like this.
How do you call this sheet again? Tick box, you call it?
It's called a tick sheet, because if you're doing it on paper, which we used to do when we were doing certifications in person, you are probably more likely to tick the square than put a number of syntax in it. I believe that's probably why it's called a tick sheet.
Yeah. And you can see, that requires a lot of human beings available to sit and listen and tick sheets for the facilitator and certification, which is exactly where all of this began, was us wondering whether it would be possible to get the AI to do this kind of fill this sheet in and analyze it.
Yeah, it was such a thing. It was the sort of thing that used to get partially done for some people during an in-person assessment, and now we can basically do it for everyone for every practice session and for their certification. And then if they want to look, it's great. And if we want to might look and give some feedback off of it, we can. It's those kind of, it's all extra information for both us and the students. That's what we're getting. So it also means we can bring you something and talk about patterns, because we didn't have those before. We're going to have another look at another tick sheet just so you can see the difference. Someone else doing quite a good. job of something. This one's a little bit different. Let's zoom it in a little bit. Can resize the window, that'll probably help. Okay, so that this, you might spot a different pattern, but also in contrast to the last one, there's something different going on here. So what do we think Irene's the facilitator for this one? So what do we think she's up to? So we can tell from the patterns.
Okay,
About
don't waste time on the and second from the bottom. That's got 4 questions. It's where she was just kind of saying back some of the content without asking an actual question. So we're not suggesting that we pay attention to that at the moment. There's another pattern here that's perhaps more interesting. Yeah, right.
For me, what I see is that this person seems like they're, because I see what happens just before, and they're looking for to understand the structure of the process that the client is going through. They want to, it seems like they're more concerned about, they want to understand something than actually lead the client forward, but get stuck on the past. That's what I would say.
Okay. I'd say this could be about leading the client forwards. It's the key thing here is you've got it in one. This is about what we would call sequence. So someone who's asking a whole bunch of sequence questions to establish the order in which different steps of the process happen. And that's an essential thing to do. When you're doing developing that we were just talking about, it's like everything stays still and you can get deep on what you're asking about. But our lived experience is that stuff happens over time. And this is sort of a bit like a video where there are frames. People often haven't got that well sorted out for themselves. So they'll know that, every time, well, there's someone who said every time she filled her car up with petrol, there was an empty ice cream wrapper in the foot of her car. So on one level, she knew perfectly well how that happened. She went in to pay for the petrol. She walked past the ice cream cabinet. She opened it up, chose an ice cream, paid for it along with the petrol, got in the car, unwrapped the ice cream, ate the ice cream, threw the wrapper on the floor. So she did know that logically, but her sort of lived experience was that as if by magic, an ice cream wrapper appeared. And so with anyone who's kind of got a mixed up all on top of itself sequence of something, it can be incredibly valuable for them to get that all separated out, and so they know the actual order. That then gives them a chance to notice where they can stop an unhelpful pattern. So there are lots of times, someone's got an eating ice cream every time they buy petrol pattern, then the moment that they walk in to go and pay for the petrol, there are probably different aisles of the shop that they can walk down, and they could deliberately not walk past the ice cream cabinet. But if they did pass the ice cream cabinet, they could look into it. They could put their hand on the handle to open the lid, and they could not open the lid. They could let go of it and they could keep walking. Or they could open it up and have a good look inside at what ice creams there were, and they could not pick one up. So there are a whole lot of choice points to do something different. And those will become apparent if you help them to work out the sequence and think about where they could do something different. So this is a good example of someone aiming to get specific about a sequence. And you can see they're asking things like, what happens between X and Y, to try and get in the middle of two steps of the sequence that they think don't actually logically follow. Yeah, so that's Irene doing a good piece of work establishing a sequence. The fact there are one or two developing questions up at the top actually is good as well, because when something new comes up in a sequence, it's good practice to ask a couple of developing questions to just kind of bed it in, get it so it's memorable, so the client knows a bit about it. Otherwise, it's possible that they won't remember it if you go back to it half an hour later. So those two developing questions, while they're not sequence questions, actually more than likely were supporting that sequence to give it a stronger foundation. Anything else that needs saying about it, Paul?
I think so.
Okay. So that's one way in which one can look at patterns, but we're not going to do any more looking at patterns in that way. And that was two people doing good facilitator patterns. We could also pay attention to bad facilitator patterns. I'll just tell you a couple. Adding a facilitator adding their own words or concepts, or using metaphors that haven't been offered by the client. That's a bad facilitator pattern. Getting attributes but not asking about spatial relationships. So, asking what kind of anything else, but not asking and where is, or and when X, what happens to Y. So one or two more. Being too passive and not sufficiently shaping attention. So facilitators are supposed to direct the client's attention. They're not supposed to sit there and run around after the client where their attention happens to go. Using a voice quality that doesn't show any curiosity would be another bad facilitator pattern. And there are plenty more where those came from. This little document must have at least 30 or 40 bad facilitator patterns. But we decided we'd go with bad client patterns today.
And we tend to, on the whole, focus on good patterns and developing them, because then the better patterns tend to fall away. It's a much more fun way to learn. But occasionally, it's nice to know that there are such things. Okay, so that's our much more kind of analytical, data-oriented way of looking at some patterns. If you haven't seen tick sheets before, you might wish that you never see one again. And equally, on the other hand, you might go, oh, that's actually pretty cool and interesting, and I hadn't thought about looking at things like that. So, and they have been around for a while. So, but not in such quantities as we can get them now. Good. So now we're going to go and have a bit more fun. Maybe that was fun. But this should be a lot of fun. Oh, I like this activity. You get to be a bad client. It just makes no end. It gives me no end. So we're going to explore another way to be more skilled with patterns. And we're going to focus on 4 client patterns that do come up. You possibly absolutely run into them. And they often flummox facilitators. So we're going to get some practice spotting them, considering how you know it's a pattern and what you might do about it. So do you want to do, I guess we're going to, the rough idea, I'll let Wendy do the details because she worked all this out. We're going to, actually we're going to do groups of 3. Just looking at how many people are here.
We're intending to have groups of 3.
Okay. So the idea is we will, someone can pick to be the client. That we have 2 rounds. So someone can pick to be the client and go and look at a description of 2 patterns. And so if you're the client, you get to pick, because you might think, oh my God, I have no idea how to do that one. So you can pick between the 2, which one you think you most like doing or cause the most trouble or whatever criteria you want to use, and pick one of them. And then that's what you're going to do as much as you can. And then the other 2 people will be facilitators. We put you in pairs as facilitators. So it's like you stand a chance. You can confer with each other. And the question is, well, what is this pattern that the client's doing? And then what are you going to do about it? And then you can have a go and try it out, see if it has any effect. And remembering this is all, quite fun, because the clients can really ham it up as well. Like, you've probably never seen the pattern this full on.
We, as the clients, we do intentionally go more into pattern. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Whatever your pattern is, do it every question. That's every answer, every question you play that pattern back in the answer, which makes it easier to spot. What is also fun in this is you might spot, accidentally put your own pattern in there. So it may be facilitator spot some other patterns going on. Just because we've given you one doesn't mean you can't spot a variation on it or something clients doing anyway. So it's a ruse to set up some pattern spotting.
And pretty much everything with clean comes down to being able to hold on to your attention and direct your client's attention. And if you're being a bad client with a bad pattern to do, you have to hang on to your attention to make sure that you use it as much of the time as you possibly can. So, you'll end up learning valuable stuff while you're being client, as well as while you're being facilitator.
Okay, so the one thing we'll have one round of that, then we'll have another go. Someone else can be a client. There'll be a different 2 patterns they can pick from. Then at the end of the debrief, we'll go through all 4 patterns. Is the idea. And it's possible we didn't do one of them, just because it depends what people pick, but that's okay. What we're going to have to, actually, we may be able to finesse this, because there's not so many people. I think we can probably give the link to the client. We do a private chat.
Can you do a private chat? Earlier it seemed to me you could only talk to everyone.
Yeah, you can. You do new chat.
To Anita, and I didn't
So
see.
you can, if you click on in the chat, there's all, and up there's a plus button where it says new chat. And if you click that, you can select the person that you want to address personally.
Oh, right.
Okay.
You can also send the facilitators to the breakout rooms, keep the clients here, brief them, send them off to the rooms.
Yeah, there's some complexity, but when it's we plan for a larger group, so smaller group we can do private message and it's nice and easy. So that's what I was going to say to you, Wendy. You happy with that?
I'm happy with that if you do it, because I'm still stuck by being able to see about 2 millimeters of each of the icons of the menu bar at the bottom.
Right. Okay, we'll sort it out that way. It's easier if we just give the client the link. Okay. Anything else you want to say about how we're going to do this, Wendy?
I want to just say loudly and clearly, the aim is for the facilitators to find a way to minimize the client's use of their pattern and to potentially maximize the value of your facilitation. So that's the sort of aim of what the facilitators, plural, are doing. But if you are going to do that, the first thing you need to do is spot the pattern. So that's going to be the initial focus. And what would be good is if you make a little note of any criteria you come across. So how are you judging that the pattern is happening? So any pointers, anything that you're going on that lets you know the pattern's happening, make a little note so we can revisit that in the debrief. Okay, so you get to spot the pattern. The next thing is to work out what might be a strategy for your questioning that might help to minimize their use of their pattern. So, what's something you could do? What's a pattern you could use as facilitator that would help to make this facilitation work better in spite of their pattern? So you work out some strategies. Again, you can talk to your co-facilitator. And then one of you is going to need to ask a question that makes use of one of the strategies. And perhaps over a couple of questions, you'll decide whether that strategy is working or whether it really isn't and you need a different strategy. And again, if you can make a little note of, we tried this strategy, it was hopeless. This strategy did work. So again, we can just compare things at the end. By the time you've done a little bit of that, I think your time will be over. And so you're going to then have a little bit of time to debrief. I think you probably only need a couple of minutes, but get it so you each say something about that experience or what you learned or whatever seems most relevant. And then you're going to swap around. So we're only doing 2 rounds, which means if we have 2 groups, then 2 people won't be a bad client. But everybody will have had a chance to be a facilitator. So just mix things up as much as you can between the 2 rounds so that everyone, gets as much variety of experience as possible. I think that's probably all you need to know.
I'll just add, because they've been majoring on the patterns, just start with what would you like to have happen in case that wasn't obvious. And then the client's going to answer. And then do you ask a clean question about it? Anything else? What kind of? You can keep it nice and simple. But your client's going to be doing the pattern. So just remember and you're not aiming to do any kind of good facilitation here, because your client's probably going to be making your life very difficult. But the point is to try and ask a clean question. So start with what would you like to have happen, and then have a go. That's Suzanne.
Okay.
Right, we're about to go and do an activity, so we'll probably sort that out and get you up to speed in terms of what's going on when we get in the room. Okay. What might be useful to know is anyone like to be client? This can take on the bad role. Okay, right. That's someone who's after my own heart. All right, we've got Tim and Roy would like to be.
I'd also like to try it out. Yeah. Oh,
Okay.
and Melanie also. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
no,
right.
that's okay. Because obviously with these numbers, it's whether what Wendy and I end up doing, and then good. All right, so pretty much everyone's up. Jane's just going to be listening. She messaged me. Okay. Then we're probably in as the co-facilitators, Wendy. We're going to do 2 groups. We can do 2 groups.
I think is it not that one of us should be in and one out?
Maybe. depends what happens with Suzanne.
Oh, surely Suzanne is going to play her part. It'd be a pity not.
Oh, actually, hang on. I think we've timed it so very well for people to arrive for this. I wasn't looking at the clock. Hey, Kelsey.
Hello. Hello.
Hello. All right. Excellent. So then we're about to go into an activity. I think if what we do is go into the breakout rooms, maybe if Suzanne and Kelsey go into co-facilitator role and we'll just say a little bit about what's going on as we go, then but basically what you just walked into, so you may wish to hit the leave button very fast. Is we're going to go, no, it's going to be great fun. We're going to go into breakout rooms, pairs of facilitators, and someone is going to be a client with a very interesting pattern. So you've got, between the two of you as facilitators, you can have a go at facilitating. So what would you like to have happen? Get an answer, ask some clean questions. But the client's going to be doing something interesting, and you need to spot what the interesting is and try and cope with it. That's the gist. Should we divvy up? If I know who, anyone wants to be client straight away, and I can then just give you your patterns. Should we do? How about Roy and Melanie? Do you want to be clients for the first round? And then we can do Tim and Anita. You can have a go at the second. Be the second client. Okay. Give me a second. Roy and Melanie. So I'm going to send you a link. It's a Google Doc. Only you know this.
Yeah, so that's part of the thing. Clients, don't share your pattern with your facilitator. Remember, you're being a bad client. You're not trying to make their life easy in any way. So you don't want to tell them what your bad pattern is.
Okay, and then Tim and Anita, you're getting the second pair of patterns. So again, when you look at the Google Doc, there's two patterns, either 1 and 2, or they're actually 3 and 4, because we're going to talk about them later, and you can pick the one you want to do. Okay.
So since I'm very new to clean, I would probably, like to be an observer if that's possible.
You can basically, we come into the room, Wendy and I, it's only going to be 2 rooms. Wendy and I will be in.
Oh, okay.
So if you want to have a go, have a go. If you want to go, be quiet, it's all fine.
Okay.
You can work it out.
Okay,
thank
you.
Yeah. Okay, good. Our facilitators are set up. I'm just going to sort out the rooms. We need Roy and Tim going 1, and Melanie and Anita between the other.
Oh, we got some more people. Oh,
Have we?
Oh, we didn't manage to catch Judy while she was here. You got
She might have been checking we were still alive or something. Okay. Okay. Jane's observing, actually.
How long does each session have as a time frame?
It's going to be 10 minutes of facilitating and probably about 3 minutes or so debrief and then swap round. So we'll have probably about 28 minutes in the breakout rooms in total.
Right. I think we're all ready to go. You happy, Wendy?
Yep.
Right. You're in with Melanie and Anita. Are the 2 clients in your room? Okay. Let's go and have some fun. Sorry?
Did you say they are the 2 clients in my room?
Yes.
2 clients.
Yes, for round 1 and round 2.
Oh, I see. All right.
Okay, let's go.
Tim is the client.
Who is the client?
And you and I are the facilitators.
Okay, then you start, please.
Okay. Hi, Tim.
Hi, Roy.
How are you? How are you?
I'm doing fantastic.
Great. What would you like to work on today?
I would like to work on moving to Thailand.
Moving.
Now, I've had some ideas about this going forward. I have many reasons. I have a business in Thailand that I run with my wife. My kids were born there. The reason I'm only in Canada now is because of COVID, and I'm sure everyone has their own COVID stories, so I'm not going to get really into that. My mom and dad are getting older and their health is failing, so I'm really stuck in a hard place to go to Thailand and leave all my family here. I bought a house while I was here. So there's a lot of things that are going on, but my heart truly belongs in Thailand. I'm just not sure what way to go with that.
And is there anything else about hard place?
Well, it is a really hard place to live because I don't speak the language very well. And although I'm not bombarded by advertising, so I'm not constantly being told what to do, what to eat, where to go, I still have that barrier of a different sort. So I'm just finding it really hard to come up with the firm idea of which way I should be going with this.
And you mentioned that your heart is in a really hard place. What would your heart would like to have happen?
Wow, that's a great one. My heart would probably like to explode into a million pieces so that I could give every piece to all the options that I have. And then maybe I could see which ones it resonates with to make it easier for me to make the decision. But of course, in reality, that's not going to happen. So I would like to know that if I could, I guess, have the heart expand enough that it would not make hard seem so hard, but it would allow at least be able to leave a part of my heart here and make it not so hard.
And as a yes or no question, can the heart expand?
Well, that depends if you're talking metaphorically or actually physically, because I work in healthcare, and although the heart can expand physically when you breathe, but metaphorically, it's going to be depending on the other person and what they're envisioning. So I can't really imagine what anyone else would think about that. But if I was to choose yes or no, it's very difficult because nothing really resonates at this time as a yes or no. But if I was just to choose one, it would be really hard. I'd have to go with yes.
Tim, do you have a piece of paper and a pen in front of you, by any chance?
I have many pieces of paper. I have red papers, green papers, yellow papers. I have a lot of pencils. This is a serial number of 031390. I think it's an HB2 pencil. Will that help? Is this an HB2 going to work? And I have folded paper. I can unfold it. I can use it with the icon on it or without the icon. Is there any? That will work?
Can you take any
Let's
piece of
pause you for a
paper?
second. Just pause you for a second because it looks like you spotted a pattern and you're having a go at a couple of things. So let's just share with us and Silke and just see.
Oh, I believe
Point.
Silka spotted the pattern as well. I'm pretty
Probably.
sure.
Yeah,
Tim already told us his pattern before.
he did.
Yes, he did.
Roy was paying attention.
Yeah.
Okay.
Verbal diarrhea.
Verbal diarrhea. I thought, very detailed, so many details. And
That's verbal diarrhea.
Yeah,
that's
that's
diarrhea.
a much more polite, Silke. That's much more
Yeah.
polite way of putting it.
very easy
Yeah,
for me to do
he
as
puts a
well.
lot of attention to things, piece of paper. How do you do this? I couldn't even fake it. That's great.
It's okay. It comes naturally to him.
It does. It does.
All right.
Oh, that's good. And your strategies, because I can see that you've gone for one and another. And
Yeah.
let's just have a little brainstorm of things you might do, because I think what you're trying is
Okay,
it's
so
quite good. For what have you done?
basically, after realizing that he speaks constantly, so the first thing I try to see if it's possible to limit his answers to a yes or no. Obviously, that did not work. So I believe that no matter what we ask him, we will get a very, very long answer with so many details that are irrelevant. So I am about to use another approach of asking him to draw something. And that doesn't require any words. Now we might afterwards we'll probably get a long explanation, but at least for a few moments he might be quiet and get inside to actually draw something.
How do you want me to hold the
Right.
pencil? Do
Excellent.
you want me to start at the top?
So-
With the
So we'll hold
With
that
your
and
feet.
we'll hold that and find out any other
Yeah.
because I think this is the route. Obviously, we can go down any other possibilities.
the
like
yes
the
no
plan B.
question. The yes no question immediately I had to like reel myself back in to my role because I wanted to just go one answer, right? So
Yeah.
it did something.
Okay, so any other plan Bs that we might try after the sketching? It's only so we can have a discussion and just think through a few different strategies. So I think the yes no is great, the sketching's great. Anything else?
We can ask him if he knows pantomime. Like, can you-
That's we can, and there's a more clean version. Anyone else know a different kind of clean thing you might do?
or in space.
Yeah,
There we go.
that came
Good
to
one.
mind.
Body
Good one.
postures, something, embody things, choices,
You probably got
and then ask what this body posture knows and what that body posture knows. I don't know. I'm not familiar with clean space.
The thing, I mean,
Yeah.
the thing is, it's like no matter where we go, the moment he has to give us any verbal
I know.
information, it will just be
Long.
Yeah.
yes.
So, all right, but they're all really good thoughts. And it maybe he carries on doing the pattern, but the point is by trying these things, you might get him a different perspective. Because if he's doing this with you, probably that's how he's thought about this problem forever. So at least if you're getting something in there a bit different, so now you thought the drawing you could try.
How do you get a client like that that seems to be really cognitive all the time? How do you get this client into the psychoactive space?
The thing is, you might not. This is actually
might
much
not.
more to do with
The-
how
the-
if he runs it this strongly, that might be it. So it's more like how are you going to make a productive session when the
there
client
is a
does this?
secret weapon.
Yeah.
Well,
And
yeah,
actually,
you want to go to Thailand.
No,
Yeah.
we put the
And he
person
doesn't have
in
an
a,
action plan, doesn't he?
it's like you put the person in a trance and you
I
get
do.
Yeah.
I'm saying it's like you put him in a trance, you'll get very different.
Oh, you can start asking your questions very trancefully. Okay, so we have.
Oh, okay. I'd like to watch that.
So in terms of ideas we've got, because I think that this is the idea to get some out, because we're not going to try them all, but the fact is you've heard them. So if you run into this, you can think, oh, okay, we could try the sketching, we could try something in space, like clean space, and there's some other space things. I mean, if you don't know them, you can go learn them, and you know that, if this happens, maybe moving them in space and doing a clean space, even though I don't know what it is, could be a good thing. The embodiment things, there's a clean thing called symbolic bodying that one of our community people did last year that's exactly that, doing body postures and what do you know. I think as Roy said, you might get longer answers, but you don't know if they get embodied, the pattern might change. And like you say, if you get them more trancey, which you might be able to do with the clean questions. That might work. And of course, you might know things that aren't clean that are perfectly fine to do with your client. So excellent list. Really good.
I do have to say that like, at this point, I mean, after being also the client playing the client, and then hearing this conversation and knowing that I'm on a mission, then it doesn't matter what we'll ask him, he will, because he right now is acting. So I believe that if you work with a person who really has this pattern and he's not aware of all the behind the scene thoughts and stuff like that, there's a much better chance that they will be effective. Just like Tim said about the yes or no question, when you guys asked me questions, it's like it was hard. It was challenging for me. Okay, now I'm gonna come up. Like I wanted to answer simple that you had fantastic questions, but because I'm playing the part, I'm like, yeah, no, I'm gonna make it really hard.
I think that's one of the challenges when you work with people who also know the clean language. They kind of know what's coming and how to answer. And I don't know if you really get the full experience with the client when you use someone like that. Is that something that might be relevant?
You get different. I mean, we had
like a hypnotist working with a hypnotist. Well, they know all the tricks. You can't, you know all the do-do-dos and right. So, and you might even be easier to go into trance because you're a hypnotist, or maybe it's more difficult because you are always analyzing the other hypnotist. So I'm just curious because we use other people that know the clean language. Does that not alter what to expect in real life?
I mean, you'll have expectations of the process for sure. I mean, I can tell you, when I've done some practice things and the facilitator is not as good as I would like, and I'm the client, I lead their attention into the things I would like to explore. And I do it deliberately with the way I answer, because I've spot the patterns, like they'll ask about the last thing I say. So I'll do my own self-modeling, and then I'll make sure I end with a thing that I want them to ask a question about. So they ask me a question about it. So
yes, you can lead them, right? Yeah.
So you can absolutely turn, move things around, and certainly, but to be honest, it's to do with attention in the end.
Yeah.
So someone who's used to, this is getting into advanced stuff, but if someone's doing like self-deception or delusion types of things, there's things they don't actually want to look at or go near.
Right.
They'll be very good at moving your attention as a facilitator away from it as well. And in fact, you might want to notice it and at least initially go along with it, because there might be a reason they don't want to go there. But the point is to be able to spot it.
Yeah, interesting.
So lots of interesting stuff. Right, I think it's probably about time for us to head back to the main room and see we survived. You did excellently, because this is it's really challenging. And when you've got clients, you like get into it. And I saw Jane's face as well. Tim went, oh, when you answered, I think it was the sketching with the different types of paper. That's absolutely made my day. That was such a inspired answer. Right.
Well done.
So
now we go back to the main room.
I will, I'll close the rooms. I'll just have to assume the other guys are ready. We'll see you there in a sec. So knowing how this works, Wendy is almost certainly talking, because I normally close the breakout rooms and it normally cuts Wendy off mid-sentence. And very occasionally we have a bit of battle. She tries to see if she can close the breakout room and cut me off mid-sentence. But I'm slightly better at it.
I was just going to say, a PhD in AI versus Wendy, who can't do 2 millimeter thing on the bottom of her screen. I think you got her.
I think that's one of those things to pull you into a full sense of security. That is. Yeah. Wendy and the 2 things, and then you'll be floored with her another time because your guard's down. That's why she's basically, and she directed attention onto me. Like, watch out for Paul. He's the dangerous one.
Yeah.
And then she can get away with murder. But as you say, there are patterns of facilitators and trainers.
we have Melanie and Kelsey as facilitators and Anita as our client.
Anita, what would you like to have happen?
I'd like to get a job because currently I'm unemployed, and I'd like to spend more time with my little half brothers. They're now living really close to where I am, but still I haven't figured out how to build a good connection to them. And there's a book that since a while I'd like to write, but I just don't do it. And that refers to I'd like to have a clear structure for my day, so I know how to structure my day.
Okay, so Kelsey, do you want to go or do you want me to?
Do you want to take a few or do you want me to go?
You could do that, yeah. So you want to find a job and you want to spend time with your nephews and you'd want to write a book. And
the structure, and I'd like to have a daily structure.
And the structure for the day. And when all of that, what are you drawn to right now?
I think everything is very important to me currently, because one thing is to earn money. The other one is to build a real relationship with my family members. The other one is about my personal life, how I'm structuring my day. And the other one is for like self-fulfillment of doing this, writing this book and finally getting it done. So it's all important, just in different categories.
Kelsey, do you want to have a go?
Oh, it's such a tough one.
Kelsey, ask one question and then let's have a little talk about what might be going on with this pattern.
And Anita, when you have all of these things, your self-fulfillment, your family, making money, and then just the overall structure of your day, is there one thing that feels like it's more that's calling to you right now?
I can hear like calling, in a sense. I can see it all around. So one is from that direction, the other one there, the next one there. So in every direction, one is kind of calling, but it's equally distributed, I'd say.
You two facilitators think might be the pattern here.
Something around not being specific, or going around in circles, or something like that.
Well, I think it's been pretty specific. Don't you reckon?
Well, lots of different areas, meaning not one specific thing, I meant. Yeah.
Does that sound true to you, Kelsey?
Yes, that there's no clear intention with everything feels equal, everything's all important. There's no one that's more important or one that to focus on.
Okay. All right. So that's starting to sound absolutely. I mean, all the evidence seems to go that way, doesn't it? It's been true for all the answers we've heard. So, Kelsey, I think you also, both of you actually have done something to try and get to a, come on, client, give me one thing. So Melanie did what you're drawn to, and Kelsey, I think you said, is there one thing? What do you think that strategy is working?
No. And is there, it's also, I don't feel like it's super clean. Is there like a clean way to get somebody to focus on one thing?
Yeah, so, and good on you that you noticed that. And I think the way that Melanie did it is the right way. So What are you drawn to is a keen question. It doesn't get used all that much, but it's the question I would use for something like this. And when there's this and there's that and that and that, what are you drawn to now would be the way to do it. But that hasn't worked. So I can see that it's saying that we should stop now, and I don't think we should. So let's just carry on for a bit longer. So can either of you think up what could be another strategy that you might be able to use to just kind of get your client focused on one thing?
Could you ask something about first? So what would you like to work on first?
Yeah, I mean, that's got possibilities.
Would you ask a metaphor question? Like all of that is like what?
Whoa, that's clever. So that's going for just join the whole lot into one thing by coming up with a metaphor for the whole of it. Okay. Each of you try your question and let's see what happens.
I'll go first then. Anita, so with all of that, which one would, I'm not sure how I'd phrase that cleanly, and which one would you like, which one would you want to look at first?
It's pretty hard because I need the money, but also this writing the book where I in the end could also earn money is quite important, and the structure of the day would also lead to me writing the book, earning money, and just doing my applications. So this all like goes together. So I couldn't prioritize of those three. My brothers, I would say that one I could then put aside for a moment as money is important, but where in those three, it's, I don't know.
So has that question worked to treat?
Not really.
Let's see what happens if Kelsey tries hers. And Melanie, have a think if you can think up another strategy if we have time for any more questions. I'm going to just see what's happening with Paul.
Oh, should I ask now?
Yes, go ahead.
And when you have the need for money, and the book could also lead to money, and you want to structure your day, Anita, all of that is like what?
It's like my life. My life is like that. So there are all these options. There's the job, there's the family, there's the book, there's all that, like that's all around me. Yeah.
Okay, what do you reckon? Was that a useful question? Does that resolve things? I agree with you. Sorry, I got involved and I didn't finish messaging. Oh, sorry.
And when it's like your life and it's all around you, what would you like to have happen?
So I'd like now, what you asked for it, I'd like to know with what to start, because I have all this, and for everything I have the same interest, I have the same curiosity, I have the same amount of fascination. I just don't know with what to start, or where to give space to, what to put my attention to, because it's all there.
What do you reckon? Did that question have some potential?
I think that's got potential. We've now got a bit of a focus of we need to know where she wants to start. That's like the outcome.
Yeah, I think that was an inspired question. The question is different from being out of the woods and everything sorted, but you have got something that's sort of new, and it is one thing. It's about where to start. Admittedly, it's of all of these things what to start with, but still, that seemed pretty good to me. So I haven't heard back from Paul. So shall we have one last question? So who's got an idea about what might work from the fact we now know it's about where to start?
And when you would like to know where to start, and that start is like what?
It's like I can do the start, I can start with something, but then the other one pops up and then the other one pops up. So I'm just like, my focus can't stay there, even if I start with one thing.
Right. There was a moment which looked like there was some potential. And so then we are back to thinking about kind of right then, how else can we approach this?
And when you want to know where to start, where might that start come from?
I think it's not only about the start, but actually about just staying then with what I choose to start with, about like finishing it or going fully through it, because I can start and I start with the next and I start with the next. But just it's not about starting, it's about giving it the space and time it needs until it's finished or it progressed sufficiently, then that it made progress and it's not just, there's this, and I start with everything.
Okay, I think that's another question that's got you a potentially useful answer. You know, it's opened up in a way. The client's telling you, don't bother to start with the start, because that's not actually the key thing. And basically anything that this client tells us that we don't need to ask more questions about is very excellent. And so well done. I think that was a good choice of question. I think the two of you made an awesome team.
Wendy, I know you're looking for new clients. I'd highly recommend Tim and Roy as being, I feel I've done all the work I can with them, and your extra expertise, it would probably be what they need now on the next part of their journey.
Well, it's fortunate that you obviously now have 2 slots in your timetable available, because I'm just about to recommend to both Melanie and Anita that they join you. There was some such good bad client behavior and some really inspired questions from facilitators. This has taken longer than we anticipated, and I think we've probably got about 10 minutes now. So we need to work out where best to put our attention. Maybe should we just hear something from each person about their experience, or what they're wondering about, or what they learned, or something, or do you think we should start somewhere different, Paul?
I think with 10 minutes ago, that sounds good. If we do your experience of what have you learned, because then that's a chance to, and if there's any question, remaining questions, we can pick those up as well. about how you
Yeah,
handle
yeah.
something. Any of that? Who'd like to, what was that like and what did you learn?
I'll go first. First of all, it was fun as promised. And being both the client and facilitator. In terms of what I learned, I cannot say much because it was recognizing a pattern. And again, this was played out very nicely, but obviously extremely, not necessarily exaggerated, but very obvious to recognize. What I do ask myself is, when encountering such a client in real life, and I have a recording, not a session I did, someone that else in our community did, and she worked with a client and she was like all over the place, giving answers, oh my God, like really, really long answers and stuff like that. And this is a question that I do ask myself quite often, like, when is it okay to step out of the clean language facilitation role and be like, okay, I'm going to say something which is not clean in order to expedite or move forward the session. So, like, is it okay? Is it no? There is no clean police, right? So I don't think that necessarily it's possible to resolve these kind of patterns by necessarily asking clean questions. I think sometimes it needs to be another tool to call upon.
And certainly we will say that you must spend 24 hours a day being clean. So probably everyone in the room has got other tools that they've learned and have experience with. I think that's fine. And a long, long time ago, James Lawley and a little group of us were sharing thoughts, and somebody said, when do you not use clean language? And everyone else just sent sort of untidy emails back. But James did a very neat, laying out of everything and listing and whatever. And one of his about 9 times when he doesn't use clean language is where he chooses to give some sensory feedback to a client about a pattern. And so, it would be possible to do, that's the 7th answer you've given this session, which took you more than 5 minutes to say. What do you make of that? That sort of thing, he'd say.
Yeah.
I agree with you. There are times when that seems to be the best way forward, because it's anyone's guess how long it's going to be before they work for themselves. So you can do that, certainly. It's also true that if a client discovers their pattern themselves, it's usually much more impactful. So that's the flip side. Okay, who's got us something else?
Could you say something like, so is there anything that you notice about your answers? Could you ask that? Would that be clean enough?
Well, the enough is down to you. Different people will have different standards for how clean they decide they need to be. Again, one of the things James said in this, when he doesn't use clean little reply, was that there's sometimes when if the client is not fully in metaphor, he would consider not staying clean. But if the client's, fully immersed in their metaphor, he wouldn't, do anything that might pull them out of it, so to speak. So, I don't think it's not going to be the end of the world if you do that. It's the thing with when one isn't clean is that it can pull the person out of their reflections and into a more conversational relationship with the facilitator, where mostly you're trying as facilitator to be as invisible as possible, is to have the client fully engrossed in what they're processing.
I think I'd say on this as well, something like that question, though you could argue it's contextually clean. You're in a session with questions and answers. So it's not an unfair word to add. And it's a relatively cleanish sort of thing to say. It's more like, what's your agenda in saying it? So I think if I try that on, if I was asked that, I'd be thinking, well, you've obviously noticed something and now you're sort of fishing for me to try and find it. So it's something a little bit odd, feels to me, in that dynamic.
Yeah. Sure.
So, but what I think is also on these things, when Wendy said about noticing the pattern, we came up with lots of things you can try, let's say on a very long answer. So you can direct attention in a certain way, or perhaps do something like a different modality like sketching, or move to something like clean space. And you can try those things out and you find out what happens. But almost if there's a pattern that you've now tried 3 different things and this pattern is interfering with the session, now that's a time to almost try and go meta and say, okay, have you noticed this pattern too, and what are we going to do about it, because we're not having productive coaching sessions? So you're almost stepping a level above that. Whereas if you try those things and they suddenly stop giving long answers, it might be like, oh my goodness, that was amazing. But if you ask them, they won't know. They won't know they could do clean space. They won't know they could sketch. So you've kind of almost better off introducing some different ways of approaching the problem and perspectives or different tools first, until you run out of ideas. I think that's how I'd handle it.
Would you pre-frame some of this before the session you even started the clean language? Like, listen, you know what, if this is what's going to happen, I may at some point ask you to dial it in, or I'm going to interrupt you if it's not going the way that it's supposed to. Like, is there...
I think I'm going to say one thing. I think, Wendy, you might have something on this, if I remember rightly. The thing I'd say is you might, certainly when I set things up with clients in my agreements document, there's here are some of the ways we might work. And it will say I might be asking about metaphorical things. We might move in space. We might do some sketching. So I've kind of set out in the things that there are lots of different ways we might work. So it's kind of not entirely a surprise if one of those comes along. And I'd probably do it invitationally. Like, would you be interested in moving about? Or would you be interested in trying a sketch now, or find some words that seem right for the client at the time? I think Wendy says, I can't remember, there's a story, isn't there, about interrupting or contracting for it?
Yeah. So I haven't done what you're suggesting, Tim, which is before ever you get going, kind of pre-frame the thing. I think there are times when that sort of thing can be useful. What I have done on occasion, very occasionally, you know, maybe with 3 clients in all the years, I've been on the receiving end of their bad pattern, and you know, we're getting nowhere fast, and it's happening over multiple sessions. I have said something like, would it be okay if when you're talking about something that doesn't seem to be the most important, or doesn't seem to be very relevant for what you're working on, would you be okay if I said to you, do I need to know about this? And I've had clients do the yes, yeah, good plan. Because, you know, clients will often on some level know that they go off on tangents and whatever. And so then I do it. I resolutely get on and interrupt them and say, do I need to know about this? And they go, oh, sorry, yes. Okay, now, so what do you want? And so there have been times when that's worked. I don't do it lightly, though. I have to really feel that I've got nothing else left to try. Who's got something else?
I think Roy's got a hand up.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, and you're on mute, Roy.
So to follow up on this, because I found myself quite often when I meet new people, I tell them that since the nature of our work is often conversational, and some people have a tendency to go into very long stories, which are, they might think they're relevant, yet sometimes they're really not. So I might stop you. If I do that, it's not because I'm not interested, it's because I think this is irrelevant, and I will ask you if it's really important for you to finish the story or not. Just know ahead of time that if I stop you, it's not because you're not interesting or anything like that. It's just because I want to move the session forward so you will get the best that I can give you. Never had someone tell me, please don't do that.
Yeah, this is the thing. Often if you put the thing up at the top at the start, you do the framing, then and the person has said yes, that's okay, then you make your life a lot easier. Yeah, good strategy.
Okay. I'm aware of the time.
Okay, can we hear from anyone else who would like to say anything? And there are just a couple of questions that facilitators asked that I'd like to just mention as being ones that I thought were really good choices. So anyone else got something to say? Okay, so one of the good questions we had was when we had a client who was doing, making lists, lots of options. Melanie said, and what are you drawn to now to try and get them down to one thing? Didn't succeed, but I thought it was a jolly good idea. And Kelsey kind of did the opposite and went for, and all those things that you've just mentioned, all of that is like what? Let's try and get them all wrapped up into one metaphor. Again, it didn't entirely work, but again, I thought it was a good strategy to attempt. And there were some others as well, but are there any others that stick out for any of you, questions that would be worth just sharing for everyone to hear?
I think in the end, for me, it was more than the questions, was just the curiosity around still the theme and how to get me out of the pattern. So in the end, also the question wasn't really addressing or getting me to where, but it was like in with the no excluding where not to go. So there wasn't a right questions that brought me out, but just the attitude of still being curious. I think that what brought me then slightly off tour sometimes. So that's more than just the questions.
It's a really good point, actually, that if you've got a facilitator who is just doing the, we're going to find out what this pattern is and how it works and do all we can to help this, support this client to get their outcome or find out that it's not a good outcome for them and go for something else, whatever. But if they have that sort of curiosity and intent, I agree with you, that can make all the difference. It's a really nice point to have brought up. I'm really sorry to stop because I think there are some other nice things that that we haven't yet covered, but we do need to. So people who want to go to the general plenary lobby thing now can do that.
Yeah, so just before we do, well, we're going to hang around. This is more to make sure if you want to go, you can go and do it for route leaving or whatever. So just to mention, if you, we've mentioned a few times, we're about to do certification. If anyone's at all interested in that, just ping us an email or something. It's not too late to join in if you wanted to. It wasn't particularly about that. We've often got things going on like free taster sessions. We're going to be doing a follow-up to the messy drawing thing that was this morning as well. There'll be a kind of, the group will decide what it is, but a kind of free come along and play with that at some point. And there's other events and training and things we've got. If you want to know more from us, the easiest way is get on our newsletter. So I put the link in. So it's an email sign up. We are far too busy to send emails. So you might get like 2 a year or something. Occasionally there's a little flurry if it's just before we're about to do something bigger. So if that's the easiest way to keep up to date with anything we're doing, so you can come along. Just anytime. Also anytime, just ping us an email. It's put those in as well. All at cleanchange.co.uk. Okay, or Wendy at cleanchange.co.uk. So always happy to chat about clean things. As I say, we'll hang around a bit more if you want to ask anything about that or anything else. And if you want to head off, it's been, well, certainly our room, I think we had such a lot of fun. 2 excellent clients. Jane and I were in hysterics at one point. So good.
Yeah, just a big thank you to everyone for jumping in and getting involved. It is lovely when people are prepared to do that.
Thank you very much.
This was very interesting. Thank you for bringing this up.
Oh, good.
Very interesting.
I used to think that Paul and I spent quite a lot of time talking to each other about how geeky we were being and how nerdy we were being and so on. But I have to say, I agree with you. I think this is really interesting stuff.
I must have prepared for hours.
Oh yeah.
To get the patterns and then do the stories. That's great.
I'm curious what the other 2 patterns have been like. I know that one was not going for metaphors, and what was the other option? And then I'm curious also from the other room, because ours was recorded. I think the other room hasn't been recorded. I don't know if you could just, if you have also some sharings of what brought you out of the pattern, or you still are in it, or what attempts that you make. So I'd be happy to know about your insights around that.
Okay, well, let's just quickly say the 4 patterns. So not going into metaphor, giving very long answers, heavy use of sequence, and multiple options or lists. And I refer you to Anita if you want to meet an expert.
And I said it's my life, and I think like, oh, I really want to explore this further, because that's what my real pattern is. So it really fitted, right? So it's just, and it's just what I'm dealing with for years. So since 5 years, that's the topic I'm always coming. And the coaches I've seen 5 years ago, they know this topic from me. So it hasn't solved. So it's just perfectly fitting still.
It's actually funny because Melanie was saying,
yeah, I was just saying the same thing. My pattern is not being able to go into metaphor, and actually I really struggle to keep out of metaphor in this example. So it was good fun.
Great.
so that's at least part of an answer, Silke, and if you want to stay and do more talking, well, we here. So
I go.
those of you who want to go, thank you.
To the plenum.
Thank you again.
Okay.
You're very welcome.
This is something really helpful for coaches in training.
Absolutely. And that was the origin. So that I don't know if you did hear, part of the reason that we're focusing on this is because we are about to do clean certification in our community, and so focusing on some of this sort of stuff be really useful for people who are aiming to build their skills. So yeah.
You're practicing while being assessed, and what we notice is sometimes the clients make life really easy for the facilitators, like they go into metaphor really easily, they stay with their metaphor, they model it all out, and the facilitator can basically sit there. But they're not, therefore, should you say, yes, you're a great clean facilitator? Not really, because they're not showing the skills. So it can be too easy. And then we've got other clients that do patterns like this that can make it quite tricky.
Yes.
So if someone doesn't produce
I remember
I
found a friend of mine who's he can speak English, and I thought, oh, this is a great idea. Let's record a session, send it to Marianne. And then I said, what would you like to have happen? And she talked for half an hour. That was it. I had it recorded on Otter, and it said participation of person 1, 100%. Person 2, 1%. Now it's up to 100. Well, yeah.
That may have been the best experience of actually being listened to that person has ever had. And that
well, yes,
value.
what I did was I stepped out of clean. I did a whole recap, and I got her finally in the metaphor space. But that was 90 minutes later. And it wasn't recorded anymore because Otter said recording stopped after 30 minutes. So yeah, that was my first experience of being recorded or trying to record a session.
Well, you're still coming back for more clean after that. You probably can do anything now, because that's really pretty dramatic to be working with the client, and 90 minutes later finally you get to a metaphor.
Yeah, it might have. So it ended, I think, after 2 hours. But well, she's a very close friend of mine, and so we did have rapport and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, that happened a lot of times when well, yeah, when I got started with the practice coaching practices. Yeah, doesn't happen that much anymore. But it will, I guess. Yeah. Those they were really good actors.
Paul, can you share, like, do you have insights from your room? So I'd still be interested if there's some things that
they
were
wouldn't
there.
go out of that pattern. They were so lovely. They were so much enjoying their acting that they wouldn't get out. But I think we got some good ideas, like the one with the sequences. And I found I'm kind of proud of myself that I spotted the patterns. I didn't know I was capable of doing that. So yeah, sequences. And we tried to zoom out with all this. That's like, or when it's all that, that's like what?
Okay, yeah.
And then a whole sequence of metaphors came up. But somehow, for me, it was much more easier to follow the metaphor story. That was easier. So, and that got me really curious how to go into this. But then we changed. And then the second person came, and he did such a great job. I don't know how he can talk about, I don't know, minutes in a row while being asked if he has paper and pen.
Yeah, it was, the pattern was long answers, and the strategy. We can say a few strategies, but Roy had tried the strategy of getting him to sketch and said something like, "Oh, have you got pen and paper?" And Tim riffed on this incredible thing about all the types of paper he had in his house and the different pencils and which one might work well for doing this. It was spectacular.
So one is what you said, Silke, is, or what we also had in our group, is just zooming out. So even if it's a lot or if it's the sequence, just to zoom out, to try to ask all of that and to put it all together. But even then, what happened there, and apparently there as well, you can still make a lot of metaphors of the whole or come up with several things. So then even if there's a structure then to the similar metaphor. So if it would be, for example, about the papers, or what is it like a paper, and then you have the different, could be that paper, this and this paper.
Yeah.
So it's still, yeah. So I'm coming back to, there's not one working strategy, right? So it needs to be that consecutive curiosity or intent, as you said, like in the intent to find out about the pattern and how do you get this out of the pattern, and then just keep going. Yeah. So
yeah, that's it. So the idea is, if you've got, so first of all, there's a big thing about you as a facilitator going, oh, that's interesting, like maintaining curiosity, even when the client's doing something that to you feels it's difficult. Maybe you haven't run into it before, or it feels a bit overwhelming or whatever. So one is about you keeping your state. That's the most important thing. If you keep your state, then you can think, oh, okay, can I spot the pattern? That's the next thing. Can you even spot it? Then at least you can go and talk to other facilitators to get ideas, because you know what it is. And then the next thing is having a number of things to try. And it's because it isn't a bad client. It's just, this is a thing the client does, and it might have an effect. So you then, well, to give the examples, because we have quite a nice list for the very long answers, you can get a different modality. So that was the idea of try sketching, or the other suggestion was do something embodied, like body postures, and then find out what you know from them.
Yeah, that's when you need to move, or you can move out of clean, like be it with the body, it with drawing.
But these aren't moving out of clean. These are just different clean modalities. So if you go sketching,
yes, but
like
different modalities. Yeah, but still, it's not just pure question asking. It's just that you're moving to another modality.
It's not. Okay, let me be clear. So we move out of symbolic modeling.
Yes, that's what I meant. That's what I meant. Yeah, I got it.
But we might move, say, to clean space, which is clean, or we might move to embodied clean, which is it's different. It's still clean, but it's now doing something with the body. So you can stay clean, but come in at a different perspective. So knowing, and that's really helpful, because quite often in the different modalities, someone will start doing something different, and particularly like embodied things, people will typically end up slowing people down a lot. Not always. Roy also suggested trance.
Is it possible to ask of the client, please tell me only things that happen in your body? Would that work?
So that there is a strategy. So with the sequencing thing, you could try. One is just with your clean questions, really using when to try and land a moment. So we had something that was like, there was a question.
Yeah, I tried that, right?
Yeah,
when you're
tried
on the leg and then
no, let me say a bit more. So one was, so we tried a where. So I think that's a good thing. See if questions in the body still do time, because often embodied things are, it's now in the present moment, and so you might lose the time. So that's a good one to try. But we got, I think, where was it? Oh, first it comes, hang on, I didn't write all this, but you do it, oh, it's in my head, and then it starts to move to my heart, and then it moves here, and then it moves here. So you did that. But you could try it, when it's in your head, and just before it starts, whereabouts is it in your head just before it starts to move? So you try and get a moment that's frozen in some way in time, like the smallest, and just before a start is likely to not have a movement in it. So you could try that and say, this isn't going to make sense if you weren't in the room. Another thing I spotted, I think that there was a pattern in his answers of, I'd like to stay there as long as possible. He said several times. I might have tried and when you stay there as long as possible, something like,
that's like what?
Yeah, or what's happening when you stay there as long as possible, or is anything else about anything else about there when you stay there as long as possible?
Anything else about,
or stay. anything that's kind of trying to put attention into staying might do the trick.
Not
Using a pattern to
more
defeat his
sequences.
pattern.
Yeah, right.
So those are both. So I think the embodied one is possible because it's in the moment. That was a bit of a general one, is you could use when to try and freeze a moment somewhere. And this one was that's just a nice thing to notice because there was a second pattern, and that second pattern might be able to be used against the first pattern, like a battle of patterns.
And second to the question, do you ask how did you ask? Is it only what are you noticing only in your body, or how would you describe it only
sorry,
in your
yes.
body?
So
because I would always add like in or around your body, so not reduce it even if you're drawing it to embodied space. Like that's some people just don't feel it in their body, so I wouldn't go just for just in the body.
Okay.
So the standard embodied clean question to get going is what's happening now in your body.
What's happening now in around your body?
And that's the thing. So it's actually really tricky what that would be. So we tend to say go with what's happening in your body. And you're completely right, that doesn't work for some people, and in and around is another option. But sometimes if you say that, you won't, some people will do around as quite a big space and then say there's a fly buzzing over there. Yeah, so it's one of these, there isn't a perfect question. What's happening now in your bodies? Probably the
just
best,
not do it at the only. I think that was making me a little bit not feeling well when you said what's only in your, like just not reducing it because in your body still.
Yeah. It's one of those, because I don't think there's a perfect question here. That works for most people. So I'd start there. If the answer that comes back isn't an embodied answer, you might kind of notice and go, oh, and what's happening around your body, or what's happening in and around. You vary the question because the client didn't answer. You think you're inviting attention to the body, but the answer that comes back isn't embodied. Go, oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, some people don't have any connection to their body, and
so it could be that, and it could be it's the wrong question for them. They do, but it's more around or on.
Okay.
And it's a calibration thing. It's not there's a perfect question. It's I'm going to be curious. I'm going to try the question. I'm going to see the answer I get. Oh, hang on, that wasn't quite what I was expecting. Make some sense of it. Come at it a different way if you think it's still important. And you're right, in and around is the next one to try if in hasn't worked.
That's an option. I have lots of more questions.
We're still here. We love answering questions.
Another pattern that came up in our practice group. We're all becoming clean coaches, and like 2 of our 4-person group are doing sketches while being coached. And I have mixed feelings about that, because I know when I tried that, I always change between the cognitive and the metaphorical space. For me, that happens. I don't know. Are there clients that can be in the metaphorical and psychoactive space and simultaneously draw and sketch things? There are.
Go and watch the messy drawing session from this morning when we put the
messy
video
drawings.
up.
Okay.
Yeah, because Jane, who was the client in that, we played a demo session because we prepared it before. Absolutely, she can be very embodied, very symbolic, and then she'll happily draw away.
In that, yes, but that's, she's having ideas and then she sketches it.
But I was in that as well, and what for me was fun. So I was in that space where I was embodied, and did I do it with Wendy? Did we have that drawing session together? Yes. Yeah, so I had this embodied, and Wendy was asking me where, and I had it in the space, and I had it on paper, and I could draw it. So I was having it active on two, and I didn't have this experience before because I didn't do too many drawing exercises, but I had it in my embodied space and on the picture, and it was both active. So with the question, I could relate to both, and it could merge in one, but I could also separate it in, oh, this is here, and on my drawing, it's here. And it gives me different clues on how to combine it to what else I draw there, through there.
Okay, so it's my inference that that she is still in cognitive space. Also, some questions like, is there anything else? Also, she answers with no, and then and then after she shows the drawing, and of course there are details she didn't tell, and I'm like lost in space, and she has her drawing and she knows where she is, but I don't. Well, yeah, maybe I don't have to.
So,
I don't know, how do you handle that?
well, I had a useful experience a long time ago with a client who did a lot of saying, I don't know, questions. And then there came a day when we were sitting at a pub having a drink and got talking about it. I think she will have raised the subject, I wouldn't have. But then she told me that she has about 6 or 7 different I don't knows.
Oh.
And so sometimes she doesn't know the answer and she says, I don't know. But other times she knows perfectly well what the answer to the question is, but she doesn't want to say it. Other times she can think of a whole lot of answers for the question, and she doesn't know which one the facilitator wants. So she just says, I don't know. And I can't remember what the other I don't knows were anymore. But, it sounds a bit like with what you're talking about. There can be more than one reason for the client giving the answer that they give. And they don't necessarily give you any clues to, I couldn't tell when it was, I know the answer and I don't want to tell you, I don't know. Or when it was, I haven't got the faintest clue. Oh yes, I remember another one of them was, I don't know the answer now. If you wait for a minute or so, then I probably will know the answer. But what came out of that client's mouth was, I don't know. So there's no way that I could know as facilitator that I should kind of just think about for a minute or two. And then she might know.
That's why I wait. Whenever there comes in, I don't know, I just wait. And maybe I say, and you don't know. I try that. Yeah, well.
I think that's a much better thing to try than saying, what kind of I don't know is that I don't know, which is...
Or how do you know that you don't know?
Yeah, any of those are just asking for the client to do another round of I don't know. Yeah. So there are times to do it, but not generally. Elsie, is that you saying you're going?
Oh no, I had a comment to the client who did know in her drawing. You can also just cleanly explore the drawing.
I had a comment about that as well. Jane was the client this morning, and she was on this call earlier, lying down. She's got long COVID. But Jane says that when she does messy drawing, it's like she gets double psychoactivity because it's all going on in her body, and she's seeing it being plotted out on the paper as she does drawings. So for her, it's definitely works well to make things, extra embodied and live and happening. And
okay. When is this happening? the repeat session of the messy drawings?
Well, I mean, you can watch the video. We'll put that up. We're going to go back with the group and also see who says they're interested and do a something. So we may repeat the session if the group's up for it. We may do a follow-on for people who were there, but just get people up to speed and do something a little bit different. I'm not sure, but we need to take it back to the group because it's not us. We're supporting it.
Hopefully not too long.
Yeah, but I think the idea is we'll have a discussion in the next couple of weeks and work out what everyone would like to do and schedule it. And
if Silke's interested in that, then you're the great man.
Oh yeah. Sorry, we've got the link from this morning.
This morning we did give people a link. They were interested in that follow-up session. That you could just put their name in, and then we'll see to it that they get informed.
And I have another question. I wanted to ask from that, because for me this, how was the sheet called? The tick sheet. Tick sheet is really new, and I was like really amazed, because for clean interviewing that is also just nice to have such a in one gaze you can see, oh, where did you go? Like even with the vectors, you make out the vector, so in one glance you know which vector the person was going, kind of whether it was sequence or thing, just with this sheet. So I'm really amazed by that. Is there somewhere, so you developed some software or some applications around that to use, which is available publicly, or is this private, or is it just
it's we did, so the tick sheets were always used, but you had to do them manually. So we looked at, it's where we started actually, was could we use AI? First of all, can we get transcripts at every practice session so people can go back and look at their transcripts without having to use their own software? So we got that. Then we said, can we use AI to analyze it, to understand the structure of the questions? So basically an assistant, enough to do a tick sheet. So that means we had to teach the AI what's syntax, what are specialized questions, what's a clean question, what's not a clean question. And it's surprising that we almost did a session on that because there's a lot of work. But we thought it was
you did this, you trained the AI on that, so you have a model with which AI you have that one trained, and it really, like the ones you showed now, those tick sheets, they were all already generated by AI.
So we can now do AI to get tick sheets that are pretty good. It will sometimes miscalculate something, but that's the nature of things. But the point is, you can have a pretty good tick sheet now for every session as well. It's not a public thing because it's a bit string and sellotape type of system. It's like it's on my computer. It's some scripts and some AI things, and we run it. Like turning it into a public tool would be another huge amount of effort. But it's mainly we run it and then give the outputs to people, and then they can do what they like with it. We can then run some things to look at, like across how many practice sessions have we? We've got about 24 practice sessions so far. So by the time we've done all the practice, we probably have about 50 recorded sessions, including our feedback. So what we've started doing is using the AI to go, what patterns are you spotting across what the facilitators do, what the clients do? I know, but also what feedback do we do? So we did that. Effectively, it's not too hard. We sort of know the patterns anyway, but you can do it a bit more analytically and go, yes, what's happening in this group is they're all very good at this. And the thing we spotted is there's quite a lot of people who are not using when in their syntax. Then we go and do some sessions that are like, let's practice when in our syntax. And so you can really target lifting the whole group. That's quite fun.
Like with what AI brings to it is really fascinating, and what it can detect and support with with the syntax. So I got the 1, 2, and 3. And what is the fourth element you split when you do the syntax, and what would be 5? So I got up to 3 as you, but I'm really curious, like what's the fourth? When you do a repeat, then you have the when, and you go for a specific thing, and then you ask the question, that would be 3. And what would be the fourth? 4.
So the fourth is around when you want to bring attention back to something. So let's say the simplest one is the client might, let's say you ask, you're doing an embodied thing and you say, okay, whereabouts is that tingle in your body? And they say, oh, it's in my heart, and it reminds me of the time I was on the beach, and I remember reading the newspaper that day. And you go, okay, so how am I going to get them back to the tingle in the heart? So the 4 parts are, so acknowledge what they said. Oh, and read tingle in the heart, reading the newspaper, on the beach, talking to your parents, whatever. And a tingle in your heart.
And when there's,
And when
and then
a
you
tingle
go,
in your heart, what kind of
okay, so
tingle
you
is that?
split that into 2, the referring back and the tingle, and when. So you do
Yeah.
this as 2, because, okay, that's.
Yeah, so the part that's almost the extra part to the 3 part is this new second one. So there's acknowledge, what we call enliven. So enliven is kind of get something you've talked about previously and recap it in such a way that it becomes alive again. So you might do it if you've been following a tack for a while and want to revisit something from much earlier in the session. So you can do, okay, summarize all this. And like earlier in the session, this thing, and you talk to, ideally you talk to very sensory metaphorical pieces that kind of talk the person back into the psychoactivity of it, and then do your when and question. So
I really like that syntax thing, because when I was doing the cleanest rating, I only had like clean repeat and a question. There was a lot of clean repeat and a question, and I didn't know what to do. And now you can just put syntax 2 or 3, and then you know there's more in it. And but what I didn't see in your sheet was the other, like if the person doesn't ask a clean question or one of the questions picked from this thing, I didn't notice any.
it gets added on the printed sheet. There used to be blank lines at the bottom, so you just write it in. The AI will go, oh, that was it'll go, that's a different question, add it on the bottom, and it tries to have a guess at. It's got a pretty good list of specialized questions. So when it does the kind of the more technical, there's a technical document like how many, what were your top 5 questions and things like that. So, yeah, then it can go, oh, you're welcome. Yeah, it can tell you, oh, you asked these specialized questions, but there were these other questions. And then, that's where we had a lot of fun making sure the AI didn't have an opinion. It likes having an opinion. But for then us and the facilitator, you can look at it and go, no, that was fair enough. It's a contextually clean question.
Which AI did you use?
The bulk of this is, so it's Whisper AI to do the transcriptions, and Claude for most of the heavy understanding the clean.